All right. Welcome. This is G. You're watching Allastrology. We're going to talk about the week of March 23rd and the following 7 days. We have Saturn making a move, we have Neptune making a move, and we're going to talk a little bit about Juno and Pluto. They're getting close, and they will get closer in the next 7 to 10. So that's going to be a thing. Yeah, Neptune's sitting at 153. Neptune, institutional energy. Neptune in Aries, so we think Navy, right? Aries is Mars energy. Bodies on water, bodies with weapons on water. Taking an offense, taking a defense, uh, just getting bodies. And it doesn't help that Mars is also in Pisces. It's a lot of similar energy when you have Mars in Pisces and Neptune in Aries. So we're just 3 days into Aries season. But because Mercury is still in Pisces, Mars is still in Pisces, Pallas Athena is still in Pisces, and of course that 8-degree, the warlike 8-degree, Pluto and Mars rule that 8 degrees. So, we're still kind of in a lot of that energy. Neptune's going to make a move. It's going to go from the 1 degrees of military, 1 degrees. It's going to go to 2 degrees. I'm liking the 2 degrees because it does represent peace. It represents harmony. It represents focus on what is important and values and money. Other than institutional energy, Neptune is also, it wants to raise that. I'm so sorry. Forgive me with my words today. They're just not coming out right. But it wants to raise the white flag. And in doing so, Neptune wants peace and unity and oneness. It says, can we get along? Like that is also Neptune energy. So I like that Neptune, even though it can be delusional, goes to the 2 degrees. I've got my fingers crossed that this takes on a tone of less aggressiveness of, well, what do we have to do to make this work? Because it's also the money degree. Now we have to keep our we have to be objective in that it's still in Aries energy. This is still very much war energy. It's still very much fighting and aggressive and assertions and very passionate and very impatient energy. Although Neptune's ability to kind of tone things down is strong. A bit of good news, I think, is that Mercury will go to 9 degrees the very next day. Now Mercury is in a degree of higher wisdom, of higher knowledge. This is also justice in the judicial system and Supreme Court, law, lawyers. So I'm hoping that this gives this Mercury a different tone, which it will. It will definitely give it a different tone. Will it be a tone of peace? I'm not certain because there's still a lot of very strong Aryan energy going on. Pluto's at 5 degrees, and there's a nice line drawn because right now we've got the sun and Pluto very close in minutes. On Wednesday, Sun and Pluto are connecting and sitting at the table and having a meeting. Now, this, of course, is the supply chain, right? We think of boats on the water, boats carrying oil, tankers, right? Absolutely, because it's Pluto in Aquarius. And then what about Juno, the business partnerships? You see, 28 degrees this week. This is kind of a big week for power moves that have to do with corporations and money and how that manipulates the people at the top. I'm optimistic in that partnerships will be at a critical degree. So a change of some sort, a decision of some sort, a major restructuring of some sort, because this is also, you look back at Saturn, and Saturn is making some military changes and movements, and it's talking directly to Pluto this week. So power moves, people in charge, and reorganization of the long-term financial security. March 26th is when Neptune goes to the 2-degree mark. March 26th. So we're talking Wednesday/Thursday, which is also the same time that Saturn makes a move. Saturn goes to 5 degrees of restructuring and ordering at that same time. So this is a big week for seeing movement and for um, seeing things happening likely within group energy, with technology, with power source. So we think fuel, of course, oil, and the straight, right? So the supply chain and Saturn connecting strongly with major power moves. And Juno, by the end of the week, actually comes Sunday, I think it is, Juno will be sitting closer to the power moves with group energy and just energy in general, and supply chains opening back up, hopefully. And then this partnership at 29 degrees and then going to the 0 degrees. And then, of course, let's not forget Mars and Pallas Athena making their strategizing on the water with physical bodies, but the military, if not physical bodies and equipment, rockets and whatnot, right there together, conjunct. And these stay conjunct. This starts on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mars is not a fast mover. What does the partnership bring when it's now going to be in different and new and shocks and surprises? Because then the next week's video means that Juno and partnerships will be conjunct Pluto. And yes, Aquarius energy does speak to alternative energy, but it is also nuclear energy. It is. So, partnerships, professional partnerships, that's where we end up at the end of this week. And at that same time, Venus at the 29 degrees of Aries energy. So, this is the beginning of some hot movements because Venus, 29 degrees of Aries, but then that means she's at a critical degree Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Venus going to 0 degrees of Taurus. So things become very feisty at the 29 degrees, right? But then Venus in Taurus, Venus is more about peace at that time. So it sounds like a mixed bag, but we'll go a little bit deeper when we have the following, when we'll touch base again for next week's video, following the week of March 30th. But with this chart that you see on the screen here, this can be a stressful week because there's a lot of powerful energy. There's a lot of reorganizing going on, and there still may absolutely be some confusion and conflicting words. This is the galactic center, which is ruled. This is Jupiter energy in Sagittarius, the galactic center, courtrooms, Supreme Court, and justice, trining strongly to this victim energy, women, Epstein energy, and maybe some more clarity on that, maybe some more movement within the investigation, within the Epstein ranch, whatever that name of that Zorro ranch crap was. I'm hoping that we see something come about where we get some tangible evidence, where we can create, where there's more investigations happening, where there's more legal action of some sort in the United States taking place. Of all of this, only Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, 2 freaking people out of all these victims, and we know this extensive global network, right? In the United States, though, only 2 people ever brought up on charges. It's crazy. It's insane. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't just on charges, but they were actually convicted of something. There's got to be a whole slew of other names. Let justice prevail. Let justice come. I don't think it's quick, folks. Again, this is a long process, but we have to keep hope alive.